Game winning streak for the Knicks now in the rearview mirror, an opportunity to just get two more. And if it's two in a row, they will call themselves NBA champs. But game number 4 got you covered. Of course, that's a pretty decent promo for you. We got, of course, our pregame right here on NBA TV. But keys to game number 4, Knicks and Spurs. Starting with the San Antonio Spurs here, what should I be keying in on?
I think the key for the Spurs is making sure Wemby stays around that basket. Yeah. So he needs to set more pick and rolls rather than pick and pop. It's not to say that he can't shoot threes, but he needs to do a much better job of staying around the basket, because even if he doesn't get the ball off the lobs, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the Knicks defense on the backside, which is going to open up for guys like Vassell and Champagnie and Harper off those corner threes when Cassell and Fox is running the pick and roll.
Yeah. Is the threat of the three ball, by the way, from a Wemby perspective, because he was 2 of 4 in game number 3, a high volume of the scoring coming in the paint. Robin, is the threat of the 3 ball just enough to keep the Knicks defense on its toes?
I believe so, yes. I like to think when you're a guy like Wemby, the threes are kind of like a sometimes food. You know, like you said it perfectly. You carry the threat of it. You make people think in the back of their head, he could go for that. But you're getting the bulk of your work done by the basket, around the basket.
Yeah. All right, what about for you? Keys for San Antonio?
For me, I want to see the Spurs play a complete 48-minute game.
Yep.
It's got to be frustrating. I know they're not admitting it. Yep. Their game's in. They're not saying it. But it's got to be frustrating to play 2 games, have the lead the majority of the way through, and then trickle it away in the last few minutes. And even in game 3, the Knicks were able to mount a comeback, make them competitive towards the end. I want to see them build on each quarter, get better every quarter, extend a lead, and then have a convincing win.
Yeah, and just to go back to my original point, even for Wemby, the average shot distance in game 1 was 16. Game 2 was 12. And this one has been 10 feet from the basket. So it just shows you when he's around the basket, good things happen for the Spurs offense.
Yeah, 7'5". I would say that usually is the case for some of the big fellas out there, as you can see for both Darren and Robin what they like from a San Antonio perspective. All right, let's circle back on the Knicks here. Tell me what you want to see in game number 4.
I would like somebody to help Jalen Brunson initiate the offense. They had 13 turnovers in that game, which is quite a bit, and especially when you're going up against pressure like, the 3 hogs, and Fox and Cass on those guys. But somebody has to initiate the offense, alleviate pressure for Jalen Brunson. I would like them to get Karl-Anthony Towns a little bit more involved into the offense, whether it's him playmaking at the elbow or just him just getting the ball at the mid-post area or him just getting some points. You know what I mean? I think they need that confidence from him. And it's not that he's not confident. They just need to get him going. And I think that's going to take a lot of pressure off Jalen Brunson to do everything on his own.
I want a lot of Karl-Anthony Towns from the New York Knicks.
There you go.
I want to see an aggressive cat. I want to see a feral cat. I want them to bring him in from the wild and unleash him on the other team. This is interesting. We've seen that in the first 2 games, Cat had, I think, 63 touches, 64 touches. In game 3, which they lost, he only had 45 touches, and he had half as many paint touches. So they need to get the ball in his hands and watch good things happen.
There was a moment as we were watching game number 3, I turned to Isaiah Thomas, who was on the show with us last night, and I was like, how do you think through the offense here? Like, how do you explain some of the production or lack thereof from Karl-Anthony Towns? Because I could see IT was getting frustrated. He's like, Cat should be dominating this game. There's an opportunity for him, and that didn't happen. Then he paused and he said, well, I see OG playing really well at the half. Josh is having some good moments. Brunson's trying to create there. From a guard's perspective, how did you think about some of your teammates getting them involved, but also making sure the big fellas were eating as well? Like, it's not always the easiest thing, and I know a lot of it is feel, but if you're Jalen Brunson, how are you thinking through what you want to see offensively?
Well, you just got to find the mismatches on the floor. Like, in transition, when he has, like, a smaller player on him, you want to be able to put him in position where he's closer to the basket, just like we talked about Wemby, and you want to kind of feed him the ball. And he may not get the points that he needs because he has a smaller player, because they may double him, right? But that's going to open it up for everybody else when you feed him the ball on a mismatch. But look, it's not that Jalen Brunson doesn't want to get him involved. I think Jalen Brunson's just dealing with a lot when it comes to pressure. Yeah. And on the flip side, if you're Karl Towns and you have a smaller player on you and OG is shooting the ball or Mikal shooting the ball, Landry, go to the glass, get some easy buckets off the offensive glass and try to get it easy too.
Yeah. We saw it, by the way, Kat, and even on our game highlight at the top of the show. Fox is on him, and you're like, yo, let's go. It's his time to eat. And he did. He let Fox hear it a little bit. Do you play with guys? I'm not asking unless you want to give me a name.
It's going to get really juicy.
But when sometimes for some of the bigs, if they're not getting those touches, I've heard Shaq talk about this all the time. Sometimes guys get a little, I want to say phased out, right? Like, hey, I want to just mentally in the game. And I'm not saying that's happening with
No, I see precisely what you're saying. When you're tied in on the offensive end, when you're getting touches, you feel a part of it, it motivates you.
Yep.
It's just a natural serotonin injection, whatever you want to call it. You get excited when you see that ball go through the hoop and you did it. You're willing to put in the extra work. Wow. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
And more importantly, it motivates you on the defense end. I had an opportunity to play with guys like Miles Turner, right, and Roy Hibbert, right, they were exceptionally offensive good bigs, right, but when they ever got the touch, defensively, they will protect the paint because they knew they were involved into the game.
Yeah, so if you're Mike Brown early in this game, are you drawing stuff up for Cat specifically? Do you think to try to get him going early?
I think so. You'll see. That's kind of like an old chestnut in the NBA. Yeah. You'll see a coach at the beginning of the game, he'll drop his first play for the big. I know I benefited from that a lot. I would love it whenever I saw it. And I think we're going to see a lot of Cat early. We're going to see a lot of Wemby early.
Pressure on the Knicks, right, in this game, number 4. Look, it's the NBA Finals. There's pressure on both of those teams. I don't mean to say one team's not feeling it, but you go up 2-0, get 2 wins in San Antonio, almost 10,000 days. It was like 9,840 some odd games since the last time Madison Square Garden hosted an NBA Finals game. And you go and lose. Now all of a sudden this thing gets tied at 2 games apiece. Like anything can really happen here. What's going through these minds as some of these Knicks players try to get game 4?
Well, like you said, there's a little bit of pressure, right? And then, obviously the atmosphere, everybody's rooting for them to get a win.
Sure.
But more importantly, they don't want to go back to San Antonio knowing that San Antonio is playing like this. Remember, the first 2 games was a coin flip. It could have gone either way, right? But if you lose this next game, now you got to play on the road against a much more confident Spurs team, which, like Robin Lopez said, they played a complete game in Game 3. But, the one thing about the Knicks, you can never count them out because they can win on the road no matter what the situation can be.
Yeah. I do a lot of radio interviews, at different parts of the country. So sometimes I give one answer to one radio station, give another answer to another station, because at some point you're going to be right somewhere. First hour here on the association, both you guys like the Spurs. We're going to say Knicks in hour number 2 here?
Good try.
So, we on to you, Mike, now.
I'm trying. You guys also, they know where I grew up. Maybe where my allegiance might be sitting. All right, we got some more to come here as we focus in on game number 4 of the NBA Finals.